I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time. We know that is your most precious gift that you have in this world. And I want to say happy CX Day. And on this CX Day, we celebrate customers. First of all, we are our own customers. So I want you to give yourself a pat on the back. One shoulder, other shoulder. You are the most awesome person. You are the only person who you go to sleep with every night and who you wake up with every morning. You might be going to sleep with other people as well, but you are constantly there, right? So I just want to say today is a day to celebrate who you are and the fact that you get up every morning and you serve humans. That's what we're here to do, is to serve other human beings. And then we want to celebrate the customers who support us. You support us here at Brand Love. You support your customers. And we want to say thank you for the humans that come to us so that we can serve them. And that's what CX Day is about for me. It's about love. It's about generosity. It's about how we show up with our smiles and our values. It's how we show up even if we are in pain, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, that we choose our values in those moments where life sometimes suck. But we're not here to talk about life sucking. We know that is the de facto standard. Life is tough sometimes. We are here to talk about how we show up and how we bring our light to the world and how we serve other humans. I'm going to hand you over to the very capable team here at Brand Love, and I want to say thank you to them. I say I can never pay them to love our customers in the way that they love our customers. So thank you for your love. Thank you for designing this lovely session. And now I'm going to formally shut up. Thank you, Marilee.
Is that possible, Chantal? Thank you so much to
Let's
Chantal.
see. This mute button is not in my control.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Today's session is really about filling your cups and adding some value and adding some skills and creating a thinking space for you so that you can create meaningful connections. And so we're going to talk about influence today. But before we dive right into it, I'm going to ask the beautiful Rufi all the way from Kenya to just get us to settle in. We've all been running around doing many different things. So let's just reconnect with ourselves, how we feel, and also reconnect with this beautiful tribe of people in the room. So Rufi, over to you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So to get us started, we are going to go into breakout rooms. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to say your name, how you're feeling. And here's the best part. If you had to introduce yourself in 2035, which is 10 years from now, what would you say? What will you say? For example, I'm going to model this. My name is Ruthie. I'm feeling quite happy this afternoon. If I had to introduce myself in 10 years, I'm excited to say that I'm going to be a wife and a mother of 3 children. I don't know, maybe. So I'm just excited about that. So share as little or as much as you feel comfortable, and we will see you. Marilee, are we ready? Perfect. Welcome, everybody. Still waiting for some people who are stuck in the waiting room. Okay, they're coming back. They're coming back.
We're back, Ruthie.
I hope you all had a good time in the breakout room, checking in with one another. Now we're going to take this a notch higher. I don't know how many of you have read that book, How to Influence People and Win Friends. How many have seen or rather read that book? If you haven't read that book, we're just going to give you a quick summary of what that book is all about and why that book is worth your read. It's just really simple, practical things that you can do starting tomorrow. It's not really hardcore things or chemical things or whatnot.
Rufi? Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just going to interrupt Rufi quickly. Zoom has this functionality where there's a tab on top that says meeting or Rufi sharing screen. So if you can't see what Rufi is sharing, just click on that tab and then you're going to see her screen share. Sorry, Rufi.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Marilee. So one of the first things you need to do is you need to be genuinely interested in others. One of the challenges we found ourselves is we chat away. For example, if I meet Lydia I'll talk about me, my country, what I like. But the first rule, if you want to influence people, is become genuinely interested in people. Ask them questions about themselves. Someone was saying, when is the last time when you went to the doctor's visit? You just ask them how they are. How is the family? How is the business going? So that's the first thing. The other thing, which is very simple, is you need to just smile. Most times when you're frowning, you close off yourself because people feel like you're not approachable. But it's interesting what a smile can do and say, hey, how are you? Good to see you. The other thing is just learn to remember people's name. I struggle with remembering people's names, and it's not the funnest, it's not cute, but something that I am totally prioritizing in this last quarter of this year is to try and remember somebody's name. It's so interesting when you call people by their name. It feels like you care, you're here, you're present, you are intentional. The fourth thing about, as a summary for that book, is you need to listen attentively and encourage people to talk about themselves. And we're going to show you a video by Voss on how to listen attentively. For example, someone says, we're having a conversation and I say, oh, I live in Kenya. So you can start with, so how is Kenya for you? So the last thing someone says, you use it as your starting point for your conversation. The fifth thing is talk in terms of their interest. Many times, if we want to get buy-in from our leaders or we want to get our points across, we usually think about what I want to do. But for you to be able to influence people, especially people you want decisions from, is talk in terms of their interest. If their interest is how can we save more money? How can we increase the bottom line? If you talk alongside those roles, you find that it's going to be a little bit easier for you to be listened to. The last thing is make others feel important and do it sincerely. You're not just trying to manipulate people. You're just trying to just make sure everyone feels comfortable when they're interacting with you. As CX people, as CX leaders, and generally everyone else, we say customer experience is how people feel about themselves when they're interacting with a brand. So you personally, you are a brand. How do you want people to feel when they are interacting with you? Now, that's just a quick summary. Highly recommend that you buy that book and read it. But before we get to the practical stuff, we want to share with you a very interesting video by someone called Voss. If you don't know who Voss is, he's one of the best, excellent negotiators. For you to be able to influence people, you need to learn how to negotiate. And so we're just going to share with you this short video. I want you to take notes as if you're going to share this with someone you actually love. And then, yeah, we'll debrief later. All right.
My negotiation background really started even before I became an FBI hostage negotiator because I needed to get some training. And that training was really intense, focused listening on a suicide hotline. Really learning about emotional intelligence and what drives people, and then how to navigate that in a way that calms people down, makes people make decisions.
Gunmen burst into the Chase Manhattan Bank in Park Slope this morning, and ever since, negotiators have been trying to get them to give up.
Hostage negotiators used a bullhorn to try and talk to the gunmen.
Billy, we're on the same team.
What persuaded the gunmen finally to come out?
I think it was excellent hostage negotiating.
People in intense situations aren't changing their patterns. They're still working in the same way that they would under less intense circumstances. They're still making the same decisions. So if you take hostage negotiation skills, which are navigating human emotions, and you put them in the middle of business and personal negotiations, you've actually got a great way to work your way through business negotiations and personal and everyday life negotiations. If you think that successful negotiations are successful because of logic or arguments or reason or compromise, you're losing money. You're leaving millions of dollars on the table. And over the course of a lifetime, that could be true for everybody. Tactically, emotional, intelligent negotiation is the way you make great deals and the way you have great long-term relationships. And sometimes they miss that and they think that the problem is the person across the table. And that's why oftentimes people think of it as conflict and actually treat it as conflict. Negotiation is really about what people are making decisions based on what they care about, what's your passions. Every decision you make based on what you care about, which I'm afraid that by definition that makes decision making an emotional process. First of all, understanding where the other side's coming from, and especially emotionally, and then being able to feed it back to them in a way that they signal to you that you've got it right. Understand and demonstrate that understanding. There are a lot of negotiators that really will give in on a deal because being understood is more important than getting what they want. Once we completely understand where somebody's coming from, then with tactical empathy, we get a much better feel for exactly how they feel about things, how that drives them, and then how we can interact with the things that are driving them. The reasons you won't make a deal are typically more important than the reasons you will make a deal. There's Nobel Prize winning behavioral economics theory that says that people put a value of losses on at least twice what an equivalent gain is. So losing $5 stings at least twice as much as gaining $5. Losing $5 feels like losing $10 or even $35. It's just a ridiculous skewing in our brains over loss. So knowing that fear of loss is probably going to drive someone's decision making more than anything else, tactically, I want to diffuse those fears. I want to get them out of that fear-based thinking, and I want to get them really in a more rational, open frame of mind as quickly as I can, which is why tactically in empathy, I want to address their fears first. Labeling is the best way to practice tactical empathy. In its strictest form, it's just saying or writing, it seems like, it sounds like, it looks like, putting a label on the dynamic. And science is showing us now that if we label a negative, it diminishes it. I'll actually say to somebody ahead of time, look, this is going to sound really harsh. And there's a really good chance that when I get done saying what I'm going to say, you're not going to like me at all. And then I'll say what I have to say, and they'll say, wow, that wasn't that bad. So I know I can take a very preemptive approach to negative thinking because I know what a barrier it is to decision making in business. The type of listening I practice it and as I teach it is really beyond active listening all by itself. We even refer to it sometimes as listener's judo, because we're listening very carefully for certain things. We're listening for different aspects of what people care about and what they're against at the same time. People will reveal the negatives very much either between the lines, a little bit of the adjectives, and then also in every positive there's a flip side negative. Every negative there's a flip side positive. If I make it a point of talking about how I'm for integrity, then if you're making it a point to state that, then you've been betrayed in the past. That's been a problem for you in the past. There's a yin and yang to everything. And as soon as you realize that there's a negative to every positive and a positive to every negative, and you're listening for it, you can pick out how you want to guide a discussion, knowing that those are the things that you're looking for. I remember one time I was on the phone with a customer service airlines person. And that's got to be a tough job because those people get yelled at all day long, every day. Nobody calls customer service unless they're unhappy. And this woman was one of those women that clearly she'd been yelled at 50 times during the day. And she was not interested in staying on the phone with me a moment longer than she had to. And I remember when I was off the phone and she had me on hold, I remember saying, I guarantee you this woman right now is thinking, she's saying to her colleagues, this guy's lucky I'm talking to him on a phone at all. So I was thinking about the negative of that, and then I was thinking about the flip side. In her view, if she thinks I'm lucky to be talking to her on the phone, then the flip side of that is she's actually being generous in her mind and her world. She came back on the phone and I said to her, you know what? I really appreciate how generous you've been with your time. And I could tell immediately her frame of mind changed. She put me back on hold for about a minute and a half after that. And when she came back on the phone, she'd given me a full refund on my ticket. Most people, if you're nice to them, can help you by doing a little bit if you give them a chance. And if you're just nice to people, it's amazing what they'll do for you.
That's awesome. That was a great story. Thank you for that.
All right, I can see some smiles in the room. As leaders, we're always trying to get people on our corner because it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. If you don't have anyone at your corner, you're going to struggle. And I'm just going to summarize the 3 things he said real quick. Number 1, what the person that you want to influence, what do they care about? Because he said decision making is an emotional process. People make decisions out of emotions. If you can tap to that emotions of what they care about and put in what you want based on what they care about, you're more likely to have a success. The other thing is listen more than you talk. And he talked about fear of loss. So if you can try and find out what's the fear that's sitting behind this particular person, and then you can, if you diffuse that particular fear by saying things like, it sounds like you're afraid that if you set some funds for this, it's gonna fail. It sounds like articulating the fear that they don't recognize and addressing it before they actually object to your ideas. The last thing is negotiate using empathy. So if someone is always talking about integrity, could it be that they have been betrayed? And that's where you listen more than you're talking so that you can find out what's sitting behind a particular emotions. Now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to get into the good stuff. And I'm going to welcome Marilee so that we can do a lot of practical things. Marilee, go for it.
Amazing. I think, Rufi, we could probably spend like an hour just on Chris Voss's tactics. I really want to invite you. He's got very practical things that you can use, as Chantal said, not just at work, but on your teenagers and your partners as well, and your friends and your families. Go and check him out. Go on YouTube or find him on YouTube and see if you can gather some information and tips and tools that you can use practically, and try it and see what works for you. Chantal.
Marilee, I just want to mention, if you have not yet discovered masterclass.com, it's an incredible platform where you can learn from the top experts in the world. It's going to set you back a few bucks to sign up for Masterclass, but I can tell you, without a fail, I did Chris Voss's Masterclass. It's a couple of hours that I spent, maybe 3 hours. It was a game changer for me in my life. I now see things, I hear things, which as an extrovert, there's in terms of talking and listening, I can tell you there wasn't so much listening that I did. Now I get to know people a lot quicker because I actually ask the right questions. I ask it in the right way. I connect with people at such a higher level than what I did before. And I get people to do shit. So this can also be a dangerous skill because at times it can feel like you learn so much that you can actually manipulate people. So please use with caution and be nice and stick to your values. But all I can say is it's a real game changer in terms of relationships because it gives you structure in terms of connecting and structure in terms of the right questions to ask and tracking with someone so that someone actually knows you're listening to them, you're fully present. Thanks, Marilee.
100%. Thank you for that. I totally agree with that. So go and check it out. So with that, I'm going to ask you to create some thinking space for yourself. I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. I'm going to start to share my screen, and we're going to do an exercise where you're just going to make sense of this thing called influence and how you want to apply it in your work life. If you can't see my screen, just click on the tab on top that says Marilee Screen Share, and then you should see my screen in a moment. I want you to recreate this on your piece of paper. You're going to do 3 spheres and you're going to label it. The middle one is control, the second one is influence, and the third one is concern. Once you're done, I will explain the rest. We'll take it one step at a time. Now, control in the middle is everything that you control. That includes your actions, your words, your decisions, your behaviors. Influence refers to the areas where you can take action and affect the outcomes, but you don't have full control of the outcome necessarily. And concern are those areas that create some stress and anxiety, everything that affects you, but you have no influence or control over it. With that in mind, I want you on a different piece of paper to write down everything that you can think of that are worrying you at work at the moment. This could be a person, this can be an event, it can be a decision, it can be your own performance. Whatever it is, I want you to jot down everything that worries you at the moment. And then I'll give you your next instruction. Hopefully there's not too many worries, but you can write down as many as you can think of. Right? I want you to number your worries. It doesn't matter how many you have, 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 10, 20, hopefully not so many, but it's okay. Just number them. Now I want you to go and plot your worries in the sphere of influence. Go and plot it in take the numbers and go and put it in the areas where it fits. So for instance, let me give you an example. Let's say one of my worries are that I'm feeling a little bit unfocused currently, okay? Which means that's a control thing. I can control that. So I'm going to put that in the control sphere. Another thing that I'm worried about a little bit is our team spirit and energy levels feels a little bit low at the moment. So that's something I can potentially influence. So I'm going to put that in the influence corner. And then I'm worried about the economic winter in South Africa and I think in the world at the moment, but I have no control over that. So I'm going to put that in the concern corner. All right. Everybody clear? Yes, fantastic. Now that you've plotted them, I want you to look at the areas of control and influence. And I want you to think about some of the actions that you can take in those areas that are not outside of your influence and outside of your control. So for instance, in terms of my motivation, I can do a little bit of grounding exercises and meditate in the morning and do a focused to-do list and a to-be list potentially. And for my team, I can set up a bit of team get together, have some laughter yoga sessions, and just get the energy up a little bit if I potentially want to influence that. I might not have the outcome I want, but I can influence that. All right. So just a couple of practical things that you can do to address those control and influence areas. Everybody clear? Cool. You can't fix the whole world, but let's see what we can do in 2 minutes. Okay, I want to invite you, if you're not done, you can always come back to this and spend a little bit more time on that. But what I wanted to show you here is that we probably spend a lot of our energy and time on the concern space. Do you agree? Spend a lot, I can see some heads going, yes, okay. We're spending a lot of our energy on the things that we not necessarily have control over. And then we forget that we do have control over certain areas and we can potentially do things in the areas of our control and our influence. I want you to think about what can you let go of in order to make space for. And this is a reflection or reflective question, and you might not have the answer right now, but after the session, go and just look at your list again and say, okay, what can I put down just for the moment so that I can really focus on the things that's going to move me or help me move forward. All right. So that is your assignment, your homework assignment, because I want to share with you one more exercise before we get going, because we don't have a lot of time, right? So we're going to pack it a punch today. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. I want you to grab a piece of paper once more. Now, I want you to think about somebody at work. It can be I prefer if it's a person, it can be a team as well, if you're working with a team. And I want you to replicate this influence map. Okay, you're going to put the person that you're thinking of, that you really want to build a relationship and influence with, on the left-hand side, and you're going to put their name down there. And you're going to put your name on the right-hand side. And on the left, you're going to make some assumptions that you're going to go and test with them potentially, right? But I want you to think about, what do they need? What do you think they need? What do you think worries them? What keeps them awake at night? What matters to them? And what do they need from you? And then on your side, you're going to do exactly the same thing. What do you need? What worries you? What keeps you awake at night? Or what matters to you? And what do you need from them? And then once you have that information, even though it's based on some assumptions that you may need to go and test, I want you to write down 3 good questions that you can go and ask them after the session to help you build a trusting relationship. Everybody clear? Okay, so even if you can't think of 3 things, write at least 1 thing per quadrant or per area. 1 or 2 things. Okay, all right. So even if you haven't finished 100%, you can always come back to this, but I want you to have a view and have a full view of what you've potentially discovered here, and come up with just 1 or 2 actions that you can put in place or do to build this influence relationship with this person. What is something practically that you can start doing to build more trust and to build your influence in this relationship? So just for a minute or 2, think about something practically that you can implement, your influence strategy as such. All right, start wrapping up your amazing actions. As much as you learn from us, it's also important to learn from each other. We want to send you into a breakout room. You've got very limited time, so this is like speed dating. I want you to just share with each other your top idea or action that you came up with, that you're thinking, this is going to make a difference. And I want you, the rest, everybody else in the room, to listen as if you are a business coach. So listen to this idea, and then if you can add something or ignite something in you to share, you can then say, yes, and have you thought of doing this, right? Not but. We're not going to use but we're going to use yes, and to add to ideas and build on ideas. Have fun. Let's share with each other. Let's learn with each other, and let's get some motivation and some exciting ideas shared around.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some vibrant conversations there. The reason why we do this is to empower you in the shortest space of time, and I hope you just got a little bit different perspective today. I hope you feel more empowered to look at relationships in a different way and to start expanding your impact and expanding your influence. So I get to tell you about 3 amazing things now before we check out. The first is we have another workshop in an hour where we are going to talk about the power of words and language, and how when we shift our language, we can get a very different result when it comes to our relationship with colleagues, relationship with family, and our relationships with customers. I'm hoping that I'll see you there in an hour. In November, we're running a 2-day program, and we hope some of you want to hang with us for 2 days, where we are going to specifically look at service recovery. So many companies want to design amazing journeys, but they forget that they must look at where the pain is. And in this program, we're going to teach people how to go and relieve the pain, and then they can build these amazing journeys. That's it from the Brand Love team. Thank you for spending this time with you. As always, it's been a delight for us to serve you. It's been a delight for us to have an opportunity to teach you a few of the things that have really helped us in our work life and in our personal life. And I'm going to ask that Marley cues up some music for us, because we have officially come to the end of the session. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.